Welcome to the MagiReco News. I'm Rank of the Yellum. There won't be any horny jokes today. Our top story today: horny Yuna has been added to the game. Yeah, it has happened. It has happened. If people thought you weren't gonna do this before the anniversary, right? They were not gonna do this before the anniversary. Too many people have told them that, and they just said, you know what? You're testing us. Don't test us. We're gonna give it to you. It's gonna happen on the 10th. There will be some... Okay, so there will be a new story chapter as well. So there will, of course, be the regular story event with like half AP, double experience, all that kind of stuff, like the usual, right? I don't need to explain this again. It's the usual like half AP, double experience stuff. And the new main story chapter, it's called Twilight Remnant. Yeah, Twilight Remnant. Probably doesn't mean a whole lot from just the name itself, so we will just have to keep guessing what actually is going to happen there, or rather just see for ourselves when it comes out. Next up, we have the promised blood. Yeah, the promised blood guaranteed 4-star gacha. So as you know, also recently for the last few weeks, months, what they have done is when there's either a rerun of old content, which is not really a rerun, but if there's like old characters that are already in the game used in some event that is currently running, or if they just want to rerun old banners, or if there's just some characters that are now suddenly important or in the focus again, they'll just say, you know what, here's a banner where you can roll any of these characters, any 4 of these randomly, and you are guaranteed one of these 4. But it's random which of these 4 you get. So this one costs like 150 paid gems. So 150 paid gem, you get one of the 4 promised blood head honchos. You can get the horse, you can get the snake, you can get the dragon, or you can get the tiger. Who's right there? You see that? That's her right there. Isn't that cool? So if you're wondering about the tiger, don't worry. We've got other news as well. So this is not the one. That's her. That's her. Oh my god! Look at that. Look at her stance. Her stance is terrible. Someone bring in Uncle Iro and give her actually some idea on how to have a good stance that doesn't just fold completely into itself when someone just slightly taps her on the forehead. That's not really a fighting stance, is that? So I need to look up some stuff. So because she's got some weird stuff, okay? She's got some weird stuff. You might have been thinking that she's a very straightforward charge gorilla who's forest type, which is what I said, and which is what most people said, because it would have made a lot of sense. But let's not worry about making sense. Instead, she's a light type character with 1 charge disc, and everyone is suddenly sad. However, this feeling of sadness then stops when you see what she actually has. You know, you see there's a whole bunch of text right here. We're not quite there. We're not quite on Fire Emblem Heroes level of skill text that are like this much text condensed into this amount of space. Like, look up some Fire Emblem Hero text. This is absolutely ridiculous what they're doing. Anyway, so I'm gonna once again give you a quick overview. I'm gonna have to give a deeper insight once she's actually out, and I can tell you what she's like. Her connect gives attack up, ignore defense, and ignore evade. Cool. She just likes people to hit hard. Very straightforward, but also very good. Very good connect, right? For just dealing damage, does nothing else, but it doesn't have to. It's fine. Next up, by the way, can I just say that connects recently, or just in general, connects usually aren't that amazing unless they have very specific effects on them, like charge conservation. Like charge conservation is a kind of effect that by itself makes connect amazing. But if it's just a bunch of buffs, like here's some attack up, here's some damage up, some defense cut, some defense ignore, some damage cut, some blah, like usually just a bunch of these effects are just okay. Now when you're actually in the game, when you're actually playing the game, you're in the battle, you're connecting to someone, probably most of the time you don't even know exactly what the connect does. Like, you know exactly what every single connect of every single one of your characters does. You probably just assume it just gives a little bit of damage up or attack up, right? I'm just going to give it to someone, I'm going to deal a bit more damage, okay? Or maybe if you have specifically a healer, it's going to be specifically a heal. But apart from that, you don't really mostly care for what the connect does. And to some degree, she's kind of like that as well, but you do have that added niche of being able to kill high defense targets, which there aren't many in the game, and killing evading targets, which also aren't many in the game, but at least if you use this in mirrors, I guess it would be fine. Anyway, more importantly, we're gonna have to get to the juicy stuff, okay? The Magia is a little bit better. It's a single target Magia that has attribute enhanced damage, so dark guys get out. It also gives attack up to self, Magia damage up to self, kind of makes her look like someone who wants to hit hard, but also Magia hard multiple times. So that's some pretty cool stuff. And a barrier. Oh, we got the barrier right here. Barrier to self 7,000. That's pretty good. Now, why would you want to barrier on this character, okay? Because barrier usually comes with some shenanigans. The last two characters that had a barrier, the only other two characters that had barrier, they had some shenanigans, okay? What are the shenanigans with Yuna? And we fucking did it. When I first was introduced to Spirit Enhancement, it was first revealed, and people were thinking, what should Spirit Enhancements be like for people, okay? And I said Ren. This is what the Spirit Enhancement for Ren should be like. Spirit Enhancement for Ren, her active should be, she almost kills herself on active, like she immediately like almost kills herself, puts her in a low, in critical health, and then she gets bonus stats, like bonus attack and bonus defense on critical health. And basically, I might have even had a video about this, not specifically about Ren, but just like early Spirit Enhancement videos where I talked about this, where wouldn't that be cool to have something like that? Maybe I even talked about it in the Ren video itself when I was talking about her, like, oh, she should have stuff like that. And guess what? This is exactly what Yuna has. And this is going to be something that is going to blow other people's minds. Yeah, when Yuna has an active, when you use it, she fucking almost kills herself. She damages herself for 80% of her current HP, okay? She damages herself for 80% of her current HP, which is absolutely absurd. The important part is it's current HP, so if you're already on half HP, and then you use it, you're not going to accidentally kill yourself, right? You cannot kill yourself with this unless maybe you're on like 1 HP and it kills you. Someone needs to test that if it kills you if you're on 1 HP. But for the most part, this shouldn't kill you unless you're like on 1 HP maybe. And of course, this will immediately put you into critical health. If you are on turn 1, you've just started the battle, you use this active, she's almost dead, and you're on critical A health, okay? What else does it do? It also, as another part of the active, it also gives her a crap ton of attack up at critical health. And it also gives her a crap ton of defense up at critical health. It's like 11 and 9. Like 9, I think, might already be like 90% defense or something, or maybe even more, maybe like 100% defense. And this right here, the attack up at critical health, I think is like 50% or something, 60, really fucking high, like a crap ton of that. And on top of that, to protect yourself, 10,000 barrier. You get another 10,000 barrier on top of that for 3 turns. So you put yourself in critical HP, you give yourself the barrier, and then you're stacked in buffs. That's what I wanted for Ren. That's exactly what I wanted for Ren, with minus the barrier. But man, isn't that amazing? The fun part is, if you play Yuna like this, you have to not put a healer on this team. This is a team that if you put a healer on this, will be worse. You want Yuna to be at a low HP. Damn. Anyway, what else does she have? She has attack up when an ally dies, which I think is the exact same effect that Yachio has and Iriachi has, which I think is also its lore, is a part of her lore as well, that Yuna also like gets stronger when her allies die, which it's good that if something makes sense in the lore, they also put it on the unit themselves. I mean, her entire active is basically lore, so that makes sense. What does it say, by the way? Crisis something, international crisis? No, I don't know what that is. Intentional crisis, I think it says. What else do we have on here? Defensive critical health, so even more defensive critical health, because why the fuck not? And then it also has blast up and damage up to all allies at the start of the quest for 5 turns. So you know how Shizuka, she's the leader of the gang, you know her well. She's finally back, and her active, or not her active, but her passive in her Spirit Enhancement is that when the battle starts, everyone gets a bit of attack up and a bit of defense up, I think. Or was it Spirit? Was it like aim or something? But yeah, like Shizuka on turn 1 buffs the entire team for like 5 turns passively, and Yuna does the same. We also assumed that every single faction leader will have something similar like this. Like Himina probably also will have something like this. Himina probably will be like an ailment character. Maybe they will actually buff ailments when they get to Himina. So she might have like ailment resistance to the entire team, or addict healer to the entire team at the start of the battle. So yeah, but she just does blast up and damage up to all allies for 5 turns. Only a little bit, so it doesn't really do much. That's cool. So now we talked so much about Yuna, because how can you not? How can you look at her and be like, oh my god, that's amazing, that's amazing. Let's see, what else do we have here? Well, we've got, I think this right here says something, the title of this memorial is something like Partners in Crime or something, which they very much are partners in crime. Crime is in murder. It gives, what does it actually give? It gives anti-provoke, but chance to anti-provoke pretty high, like 80% chance to anti-provoke or something, and like a bunch of attack up. yeah, like 25% attack up, maybe like 80% chance to anti-evoke. It's cool. It's like Space Hug, but instead of having like 80% anti-evade or something, or 75% anti-evade, it's gonna have that much anti-provoke, which is fine, I guess. It's all right. But it's not a review. I just wanted to mention it because not everyone actually watches the review, but a lot more people actually watch the news than watch the reviews. I have the numbers. I can guarantee you guys that more people watch the news than the reviews. So maybe the reason for that is because I already reviewed the unit kind of when I give the news, and maybe I should not do that. Anyway, what else do we have? We have the event. It's a Promised Blood Slice of Life event. Wow, look at that. They're all so happy. They're all so happy, and they're all fucking murderers. Woo! I need to keep bringing it up because I think it actually adds to the fun, I think, in my opinion. Like, the reason I keep bringing up that PB kill people is not to be like, oh yeah, you guys out there, you should all hate PB. I think it's just more, yeah, like it gives more to the fun of the situation. Like when these guys go out, they eat ice cream. It's a double tower, and one of the materials is ice cream. Like when they go out and eat ice cream, I think it's a lot more fun if you remember that these are all cold-blooded killers. I don't know, maybe I have a weird sense of humor. Maybe I just have a really, really wicked sense of humor. Anyway, so yeah, standard double tower event, nothing special. But I guess because you get the new main story during this, you can already get some of those double tower materials while you're having main story running. I feel like what they should do is only run double tower whenever there's a new main story, and whenever there's a new main story, run double tower alongside it so you can get the materials while you're running the new main story. Wouldn't that make sense? I think that makes a bit too much sense, right? But yeah, it's a unit event with like Promised Blood, and they're having stats of life stuff. Now here's a very important bit, and maybe I should have teased this earlier as well. Now, if you've been paying a lot of attention to the mechanics of the game, you might have been thinking to yourself when I talked about Yuna earlier, like, okay, attack up at critical HP, that's pretty good that you have so much of that, and defense up at critical HP, so much of it, oh my god, that's great. But doesn't the attack up at critical HP and doesn't defense up at critical HP just add onto the regular attack up and the regular defense up, and aren't those just capped at 100%? And since those are capped at 100%, if I get like 100% defense up from critical HP, then I'm just going to cap. I'm just going to hit the cap, and I won't be able to get more defense. I won't be able to get more attack if I hit the attack up cap as well. Isn't that kind of sad? And you know what? The developers have heard you. They've heard me, because I've been saying, didn't I say basically something like this as well when I've been talking about why barrier will be important in the future? And I said like, oh, critical HP and attack up at maximum HP, all that kind of stuff. Since that all just is part of the attack up like cap, it kind of sucks, right? That you can hit the cap that easily. They should do something about this. Well, they are going to do something about this, but only about the critical HP bonuses. So critical attack and critical defense, so a critical HP attack and critical HP defense, those are no longer part of the normal attack up cap, and they are no longer part of the normal defense up cap. They're now their own separate effects that have their own separate cap, basically, which is so high that you're not going to get there anyway. Actually, it might not even have a cap. So the important part is they're separate now. Attack up at critical HP and defense up at critical HP are now separate, meaning you can just keep stacking them, and you can keep stacking them, which makes attack up and defense up at critical HP a lot better if you can get there than attack up and defense up at a maximum HP. Because this is exactly what I said. At maximum HP, you start the battle at maximum HP. If you start the battle at maximum HP, you already got all these bonuses, right? And then the critical HP bonuses, they're kind of terrible because it's really, really hard to get to critical HP. Guess what? Guess what? Now, it's really easy to get to critical HP because you have this active right here. Secondly, once you are at critical HP, now, since it's no longer part of the same cap, you can over cap, or rather you can go over the cap on attack up and defense up if you're having these critical HP effects, and that makes it way better. So yeah, they basically made critical attack and critical defense now way better. They've given us a unit that can actually make use of this. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Now all they have to do is save Blast. And Stealth Aimants. Like Stealth Aimants and Blast are still the two things that need to be saved, but at least now we've saved critical HP bonuses. Awesome. Yeah, that's about it. There'll be a new update to 2.4. But yeah, isn't that great? Isn't that great? With that said, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys next time.